Okay. All right. Well, this is a special episode. I'm gonna let my man introduce himself, but we got Wyatt Woodley in the building, boys.
Man, thank you.
Thanks so much for coming through.
For sure.
I mean, before we get into it, I want to just kind of say like how I discovered you and kind of how we got to this point.
Right.
Just for the audience, and then I'm gonna let you take the floor. But so, man, like last week, I would say I was just scrolling through social media and I saw 24kGoldn was having a concert down here in LA at the El Rey Theater, and I was like looking up at tickets, and I was like, oh, they're pretty decently priced. Like that'd be a dope concert to go to. So I grabbed two and didn't think anything of it, but I show up to the show early, like 8:30ish. Show starts at 9, and I'm like pretty damn close to the front, and all of a sudden the curtain opens for the start of the show, and we got Wyatt here standing on stage, and I was like, oh shit, he's got an opener. That's fire. It didn't say on like the bill or whatever.
Yeah.
And dude, I was blown away by the fucking indie pop or indie bay pop album and record that you played. And then, you can talk more about it, but during the show we had like some technical difficulties. I'm not sure what happened. He can explain it.
I can expound.
And the show got cut short, and I was super impressed just by your presence. I feel like a lot of people in that situation would kind of just fold up and run off stage. Essentially, the mic was like cutting in and out, and like the music was chopping up, and you couldn't really play the song, perform the song.
Yeah.
But Wyatt kind of took it like a champ, came out there and just acapellaed it. He had a great statement that he made, and the crowd was very receptive and very happy, and it was all positive vibes. And man, I was sold then. I went on Instagram, I'm like, this kid's got to have like 2 million followers, 2 million monthly listeners. And I was like, I better DM him right now and try to get him on this pod. And here we are. So that's my quick story about how I found out about Wyatt, and I'm just super excited to watch his come up. But I'm going to let him introduce himself, and if you want to talk about just like the show first and foremost, and then we can get into kind of like your backstory and just how you got into music. But take it away, brother.
For sure. I mean, first off, bro, thank you so much for having me. You feel me? It's this man's birthday, by the way. So you're incredible bro. I didn't even know. You're too sick for that.
Nah, bro.
First and foremost, but the show was incredible. I've been working with Golden for like almost 6 months now.
Okay.
Just on like pure music side, just engineering, and this opportunity kind of came up via my manager. He happens to be a manager on the same management company.
Okay.
So it just kind of came down the pipeline via him, and God willing, it was a good fit for kind of what we were trying to do. And yeah, I got to go out in San Francisco and LA and do this indie bay pop experience. And it was amazing. You feel me? Both shows were incredible, huge learning experiences. I hadn't prior to that been on the stage like a ton, so it was cool like being able to finally hear these songs on that side of a set of speakers, in front of that size of a crowd, and really test these sonics and just the show, version of this album that I've been working on for so long. But yeah, in LA, right before the last song, my computer was just dying. It was just dying side stage, and that was because, you feel me, I had it plugged in, but I didn't peep, you feel me, what was going on. And so we do sound check like an hour before we go on, so everything had kind of been left untouched and assuming that everything is as we left it, and it was not. So anyway, we kind of, my manager was mobbing. He happened to notice and kind of signaled at me like, hey bro, it's kind of about to go down. And then we all heard how it went down, and I kind of just looked at him and looked back at the crowd, and I was like, well, I kind of got to do something, and the song I was about to play was called Ways, which is like, to me, like, it's a really sentimental song. And a lot of times when I write music, I'm trying to get off like a pretty strong emotion. Like I have to feel strongly about it to make a song about it.
Yeah.
And that one in particular is like really dear to me, but it's also, I feel like, prevalent to right now. And so the fact that that one was the one that was about to get short, it was cut short, I knew I had to like at least get off the message of the song, even if I couldn't really perform it how I wanted to. So like you said, I basically like acapella'd the hook and like majority of the first verse, and kind of just wanted to get off the sentiment, which is like in life, you know, there's hella ups and downs and even like turbulence as, you know, just humans, you know, being pulled left and right, good and bad. And I want everybody to know, if they hear that song, that it's never too late to change your ways. You know what I mean? You can always become a better person, better version of yourself. And I think like the best way to do that is trying to grow like every day, you know? And it takes time and shit, but we're in a crazy place as like a country and as, you know, people, and you know, as a globe, as a unity. So
Yeah.
I just wanted to shed some light on that real quick. I was glad that I could, though, you know, in some way, shape, or form, still get that off.
Yeah, no, absolutely, dude. And everyone was chanting your name, and like, so I'm glad you did like come out and do something, because I know everybody kind of wanted. It kind of seemed like a collective that we all wanted you to do something. We wanted you to do acapella or do, you know, just whatever. Even if you just, like you said, speak the message of the song, or just speak a message in general. So that was powerful, and I think that was awesome that you did that, and that was one of the reasons why I pulled up your shit and was like, I gotta have this kid on because he's going places. But
thank you, man.
Yeah, no, absolutely. In the last couple of days, I've been like diving in big time to like your music, listening to the EP, listening to Ways a little bit. But I guess in general, just, you know, take me back to kind of how you got into music, your start, like, you know,
For sure.
your inspirations, and just kind of like, you know, how'd you get into music just in general and wanting to do this as a career?
I've always kind of been around it in some way. Like neither of my parents are musicians, but they both love it.
Okay.
And like my mom was making a point of like putting on like reggae and like Bob Marley when she was pregnant with me, and just being around like good energy music.
Yeah.
And my dad always liked like the oldies and like super singer-songwriter heavy music. And so I was always listening to music from a young age, like all the time, going through records and stuff with my dad. And basically, when I was like 4, my parents were about to go to a festival that was like kind of close to the crib. And I was like, oh, y'all got to take me. Whatever, as like a 4-year-old. And they hadn't gotten a ticket for me. They had gotten like a babysitter. And I was like, nah, like y'all gotta take me, and I have to take my guitar, which was like a ukulele, which was like the size of a guitar for a 4-year-old.
Yeah.
And long story short, they like buy me a ticket last minute online, and we go. And the night before, I had said like they're gonna put me on stage. I don't know why I said that. And that's as the story goes. You know, they're telling me this, but they don't tell me like it's bullshit. They tell me like no. And anyway, we're sitting front row, and I'm like strumming my ukulele while one of their openers is on for the festival. And this dude who was like managing or like PAing the festival seen me and was like, put a camera on that kid. And then I don't know, 15 minutes go by, and it was like, put the kid on stage. And so I ended up on stage for, you know, like 2 hours at this festival, just like playing my ukulele. They had the shit mic'd up. I don't know.
Oh my god.
And there's
bro.
photos, like it's damn near my screensaver is me on stage at that festival with the ukulele.
That's fucking epic, dude.
But so I was just up there doing my thing, and when I came home, it was just such an amazing experience. Like I think that really like just like, oh, I gotta do that again. Like it really like set it off for me.
Yeah.
So I'd be like drumming with like paint sticks on the toilet, and like, you know, drumming with knitting needles on like coffee cans and all types of shit, just trying to make music as a little kid. And then when I got older, I basically was in like jazz bands and drumming like that, and then I was in like a rock cover band as like a 14-year-old and all this type of shit with kids that were like 18 and just playing up type thing.
Yeah.
And then when I got into high school, I wanted to make beats, you know, and rap like all the kids do. And all my friends were rapping. We would write shit at and like in our classes, and then at lunch we would go like freestyle or like rap to each other and rap battle and shit. So that was like really where I like started, you know, writing in that sense. But yeah, I don't know. I've always just been around music, always loved it, always like studied it, you know, more than anything. I feel like I was always listening to, perceiving what I heard and then being like, I wonder how they did that, you know, and then trying to do it myself. That's all I really ever did, was like listen to it, take it in, and be like, I want to do the same thing.
Yeah.
Just try to make it.
Yeah. I mean, that's epic, dude. I mean, I feel like it almost feels like
Long-winded, but
no, that was great. It almost feels like it was like sort of just kind of destiny. I mean, like the as a 4-year-old, and then after that, it's just kind of like imprinted in your brain, or like
for sure.
some you know, greater being kind of just, you know, God or whatever it was, just kind of drove it into you, and it's been you've been killing it ever since. But
Thanks, man.
no, yeah, for sure. So what how did you learn? Like you said, you want to make beats in high school and stuff. Was it all like a YouTube grind, or like I've seen people learn different ways? There's different programs and stuff.
Yeah, at first I wasn't that hip to using YouTube to learn. I actually used that a little bit after I started, which is ironic, but just to get better. You feel me? I knew there was more shit I needed to know, so I went to YouTube for that.
Yeah.
But at first I was using what's called Machine.
Okay.
And it's also, you can use them standalone, but you can also use them with their own DAW called Machine. And actually, like the first beat this goes back to what I was just saying, damn near. The first beat I ever tried to make really was copying somebody who's like he's like my mentor now. Okay. His name's Billion. There's a song by Marky Basie called 4 a.m. Yeah. And the beat is like just a pluck and then like hard 808 hi-hat and snare. It's like 4 sounds, but it's hard. Okay. And I pulled out my machine, figured out what those like 4 notes were on the pluck, and then just tried to make some clap. And that was like the first beat I ever really made, was copying somebody who's like my best friend now.
Damn, dude.
Without knowing, you feel me, that he lived, you know, a couple cities over, anything like that. Just loved the music, had to copy it in some way to get that off, you know, or learn how they did it, you know?
Yeah. I feel like at the beginning, everything we do in terms of like creative is copying until you get to a certain level, and then you start taking your own steps. Like, all right, I know all this, and like, you know, I was able to replicate a ASAP Rocky beat or something like that, and now it's time for me to create my own shit. So no, but that's epic, dude. That's fucking sweet. So then to refine, you kind of like would look up videos and stuff, like you know,
there's like I would look up like how to make. Even still, they were like this collective of producers, and I can't think of their name, so forgive me. But basically what they would do is popular song would come out, like Butterfly Effect by Travis Scott. Yeah. And it'd be like, how to make Butterfly Effect by Travis Scott. And they'd go by like how to make each preset. And I would really just try to copy what they did. And then that taught me a ton about like sound design and just how to use the same tools that were in front of me for other shit. Not necessarily to do exactly that again, but just like, oh, that's how you make that kind of sound from scratch. Yeah. All that stuff is like super valuable, you know, or like even I use Logic for damn near everything. So I was watching like a lot of like tutorials early on, just like for like quick keys and like all that type of stuff. Like, how could I be more efficient? I think that was like the main thing I use YouTube for, because there's hella ways to make music, but there's like, quicker isn't always better either, but there's definitely quicker ways to get through things that can make it like less arduous and help you like stay in the flow of just creating, instead of like, I gotta go do hella shit real quick and then get back into what I wanted to do. Yeah. So just trying to refine my process in general is a lot of what I use YouTube for. Okay. And having like hella homies around me that are like way better, way like, you know, have been doing it for longer around me to just be like, oh, that's how you do that? Okay, for sure. Yeah. But yeah.
No, that's great, and I feel like that's so valuable. Like, just like you said, just like knowing how to create, like, because like nowadays I feel like, I mean, there's a lot of, not to like talk down on any people out there because what everyone does is I think there's an art to it, but there's a lot of people out there who I feel like are just not figureheads, but like they're just not as well versed in like the actual creation of the music versus like some people are, and there's machines behind certain people and whatnot.
Yeah.
But like I feel like you'll always have, like, if you can create the music, you'll always have that, because I mean there's people whose careers will, if their next single doesn't take off or whatever,
right,
and they don't know how to create music, or whatever happens in the business world, but it's super valuable, I feel like, in music these days to know like all the how to do everything.
I agree. I think also, like, speaking on that, which is, it's funny, like the converse is true. So like the fact that we're in such a like indie age, it's just as important to know how to make the music from top to bottom, but know how to do like the business from top to bottom. And that's the part that I'm like really trying to learn right now. But, they're both so invaluable, honestly. And in today's world, it's hard to like exist without both of them,
Yeah, and I feel like what's great about the world right now is a lot of like the dirty shit is getting exposed. So like you can't be doing that shit anymore.
Agreed.
And like people are realizing it.
For
and,
sure.
Like, the artists who like create the product are like, no, this is fucked up. I'm gonna go over here and do this.
Yeah.
And like you need my music. So yeah, it makes you an asset for sure. But so you said you've been working with Golden for like 6 months. Were you always kind of like making your own music, or did you like start as a engineer and producer and then kind of transition into like rapping and singing and shit?
It's a great question. I've damn near always done my own thing as well.
Yeah.
I made it more of like a strong point in like 2020.
Okay.
But my whole thing, at least for my project, is that I like produce, mix, mastered, wrote all of it. And so a lot of that comes from, I do each of those things like segmented for a lot of other people.
Okay.
So I'm a producer, I wear that hat for a lot of people.
Yeah.
I'm just an engineer for a lot of people. I mix for a lot of people. So I get to compartmentalize all of those things separately. And with Golden, I was just asked to be an engineer.
Okay.
That's it. It's kind of like blossomed a little bit into just being, part of the songwriting and the creative process, whatever.
Sure.
But I'm there to make sure that the song is recorded and that everything's like smooth and that, you feel me, it goes how it needs to go to get the song out and make another one.
Yeah.
Because he's a highly productive artist. You know what I mean? So we're just trying to work at a fast clip and get as many like great ideas out as possible.
Yeah. And then, I mean, that's crazy. If you're doing all that for a lot of different artists, how do you find time to like, is it during, like, you'll come up with an idea in your head and kind of store it away, and then in your own session, you'll be like, oh, I had this idea while I was engineering for Golden, like.
Nah, I damn near, that's a really good question. I compartmentalize that. I've said that word like 5 times.
No, you're fine, bro.
I'll move that shit over to when I'm like just by myself.
Yeah.
And when I'm working with or for someone else, I'll make sure that I'm being the best like role player I can be. So I'm only thinking about like how I can be the best for that song or that situation at that time. And a lot of my stuff I have to do either with my brother Calais, or I have to be like, with my other people, Jay Anthony, a bunch of cats that I work with, or by myself. Yeah. And then I'll write, and usually I'm producing until I feel something to write.
Okay.
I'm just producing, making music, like purely the music part of it, until something calls for me to say something. And if it don't, I don't.
Okay.
Honestly.
That's smart though. And you don't want to force anything, just keep making the beats, and then eventually if it comes to you, you start. So in terms of like inspiration, where do you find like your sound? I feel like listening the last like few days, I feel like I've heard like a lot of different inspirations. It might not be the same from where you drew the inspiration from, but Ways kind of like production wise kind of has like a country beat a little bit almost.
Yeah, do a little bit.
Like
Yeah,
a
for
Shabuzi
sure.
beat a little bit.
Yeah, it does. It's like stomp and holler, like Mumford and Sonsy type
Yeah.
thing. Um, that I kind of did. It's kind of like a two-part answer. So the indie bay pop thing that I do
Yeah.
is like the indie soundscape with Bay Area kind of hyphy drum patterns, and then and bass patterns and the funk that I was talking about, and
Yeah.
then the pop is kind of more in like the songwriting, and sometimes structure, not always, but sometimes. And with Waves, there's a very similar, purely the rhythm between stomp and holler, like,
Yeah.
and the hyphy stomps that we all know and love.
Okay.
So that's kind of that through line, but then on top of it, what the song is about is kind of like talking to our country,
Right.
And I felt like the best way to hit the biggest demo of our country was that sonic palette, while doubling down on the subject matter. So it's kind of like all three of those things hitting at once. There is a through line from like the pure rhythm of it, but then what I'm talking about is kind of, that's the audience I wanted to capture.
That's smart. Yeah, that's smart to think that way when creating the.
Yeah, it kind of, and it wasn't all as purposeful as I'm making it sound maybe now.
Yeah.
But yeah, as soon as I heard the guitar, I was like, oh, this is how I'm gonna sing on it and what I'm gonna sing about. And I kind of already had the song before I stomped and clapped hella times.
Okay.
But yeah,
that's awesome, dude. And subconsciously, maybe like that's kind of what your thought process was, and then kind of turned into that.
Yeah.
But indie bay pop, dude, there's some songs on there like Shake, for example. It gives me like production wise like a testing ASAP Rocky vibe with like
that's hard.
Yeah, with like the beat and like the song like coming out and coming in. I don't know a ton about like creating music, but like when I listen to like Buckshot off Testing,
hard,
and you hear like the beat on that, obviously it's New York versus like West Coast, East Coast.
Sure.
So it's different sounds, but
just
trying to like find like what your inspiration was, and like you've kind of mentioned already, but coming into this, I was trying to think like, where did he like get inspired from for this project? But yeah, I don't know why I thought of that, but
no, that's
I just
hard.
had to mention that. Yeah,
I love that project. I'm a big ass ASAP Rocky fan in general. I feel like the Shake song is like, I don't even know. It's to me, that was like the quintessential, or one of like the quintessential like indie bay pop songs, just because like the guitars in it are super indie, and I felt like the drums are just all super indie, but I chopped them up with an MPC, so it kind of brings it back to like the hip hop esque, you feel me, drum sound and stuff like that. But yeah, as far as like pure inspirations, I don't even know. I feel like
it's just you creating, and you're just whatever you.
Yeah, I guess, but there's definitely people, you feel me, like I'm a big Tame Impala fan.
Okay.
As far as like the indie sound, I'm a big like
you mentioned Matty Healy and 1975
for sure.
Their Fire,
Dom Fike.
Yeah.
Fan big. I'm just a fan of music, honestly, but that one, it's about anxiety, and the kind of whole thing was like, my hands, when I get anxiety, they just shake uncontrollably. I do this. I'll just tremor. And so that's really all the song is about, and how to like just little ways that I use to cope. I'm a smoker. I don't advocate for it, but I use nicotine to stop the shakes. Yeah. Maybe it starts them. But
everybody's got a vice.
You feel me?
Yeah.
But so I kind of I don't know. I wrote it about that, and I wanted the beat to kind of, on one hand, sound like anxiety, and on the other, sound like letting go of it.
Okay.
And I kind of do like a vocal exclamation in it. It's like the post chorus, and that's kind of like you screaming out your anxiety.
Oh,
that was
okay.
always like a tool that was taught to me. I had hella family friends that lived in like the backcountry, or like in the woods of Washington or the Bay Area, and what they would always say is like, anytime you had hella pent up anxiety, or you just mad about something but you don't know what, just go back on the back porch and scream just as hard as you can, like like scream, get it all out, and you'll feel 1,000 times better. So that was kind of like that, is me like getting off my anxiety, and getting it out of my system, so I stopped shaking.
That's sick. One thing I want to ask about, and it's a good perfect segue, but when you perform, I've only seen this a couple times, and you can tell me I'm an idiot and I don't know about music. Yeah. But with the other mic, like I saw at the Dominic Fike at Coachella, had that like crazy shit.
Oh God.
Kind of what was the idea behind, like, did you just kind of say like for your set you gotta have that for the songs, or was that kind of just something that like is it necessary, you think, or?
Damn near.
Yeah.
Damn near for me.
I mean, I love it.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think it's dope.
For me, damn near, just because there's so much. I'm not like a traditional singer by any means, but I be using my voice to just convey certain emotions.
Yeah.
And the B mic, or the other mic, is another way of me conveying, things that I feel like getting to use my voice like an instrument.
Yeah.
In the best way that I can, because there's a lot of vocally produced things on my project and on the songs that aren't out yet that I want to be able to replicate in a live setting. And so that's my initial way of doing it, but we'll have like other shit in future shows that are kind of like building upon that.
Yeah.
But yeah, Dom had it at Coachella and in that like Apple Music set that he did. But I'm a huge fan of like Bon Iver as well.
Okay.
And so that's like a big thing that he'll do. Frank Ocean, when he did SNL like hella long ago, that's when I first seen it. It was like 2012, 2013. He did Pyramids with it.
Okay.
And that shit is insane. They took it off YouTube because SNL is crazy, but that shit is insane.
Yeah.
And that's when I was like, oh yeah, I have to do that.
Yeah. I loved it. I think it's great.
Thank you.
And that was the second time I've ever seen it. So that's why I wanted to ask you if it was common, like just in the music world in general.
Definitely not common.
Okay.
But in the best way, I think like a lot of the times the people that are doing it don't make like the most like common music.
Okay.
Not to even put myself on in that category.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
It's just it's a little left field of a thing that requires slightly left field music for it to like even make sense.
Another guy who had it, who now I'm just racking my brain, is do you know John Bellion?
Hell yeah, we were just talking about him the other day.
Oh hell yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw him perform in Cleveland.
Hard.
And he had like the beat pad on stage and the other mic, and he was going crazy, and he would make like his own beat and freestyle like during the show, and that shit was that dude's insane.
Nuts.
Yeah.
That guy's insane.
Yeah, I've been a fan of his for a while. So I guess one other thing what made me think of this too, about Shake, and like you saying kind of the screaming part of that song, a little reminiscent of like I don't know if you're, kind of a controversial guy, but Kanye fan these days, but the second half of Runaway, when he's like talking like the same shit, just trying to get people to hear him, but it's just drowned out by that. Genius, bro. It's so sick.
That's one of my favorite songs, if not like one of the best songs in my opinion.
It's definitely,
But yeah, that's definitely one of the big inspos for that too. Doing it like I have a song called Fun, and I end Fun kind of in a similar way to how he ends Runaway, as an ode and homage to that. It's purely like that, but yeah, that's one of my favorite songs ever. Yeah. And when he did that at the VMAs, I think it was when that song first came out.
Yeah,
he was wearing all red.
Yeah.
And that effect comes on at the outro. Out of here.
Yeah,
same thing when I seen Frank. It's like, oh yeah, like that's what I want to do. If I'm ever up there in a situation like that, that's how I want to come across.
Yeah, that's like yeah, dude, it's just giant. It's just like one of those moments. It's like you lives forever.
For sure.
And inspired, I'm sure, tons of people,
For sure.
which is amazing.
Yeah.
And what we need that. So in terms of music, kind of what's next as far as like, I know you dropped the indie bay pop. Are you coming out with another project? Can we talk anything about projects,
For
singles, anything? And
So,
the
my
direction.
bad.
And the direction. No. Just the direction kind of you're headed.
The indie bay pop project as it stands is like a EP.
Okay.
But I'm about to release like the full length version of it.
Okay.
So there's 5 more songs that are coming. It's like the back half. Kind of fills it out. Because it's not like the 5 that are out and then 5 under it. It kind of fills out together, so it'll give a little bit more of a complete story.
Okay.
And like arc of the project, which I'm excited to give people and kind of just expound visually with it now as well. So that's what like the next, couple months are gonna be. But I already have, the things coming up after that kind of lined up. So we're working on that now. And that project should be coming like around like August.
Okay.
So.
And that's the Indie Bay, or is that a separate?
Separate.
So Indie Bay is gonna be coming soon. Second part of that, and then we got another project coming in August. That's fire, bro. You're just grinding, bro.
For sure.
And then in terms of like working with Gold, I know Golden's on tour right now, but just kind of all the other guys you're working with, is that just kind of like a willy-nilly? Like if they hit you up, you're kind of there and helping them out, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Honestly, I mean, so there's like, I can count them on one hand, the artists that I'm like the most locked in with.
Yeah.
And those people typically I'll see like 3 to 5 times a week.
Okay.
But we don't like schedule anything. So we'll like text each other every morning. Hey, bro, you good? You good? Yeah, I'm good. What's up? We labbing today?
Yeah.
And then I kind of just go from there as far as like, it's going to sound hella stupid, but just first comes first. I'll just schedule out my days.
Yeah.
And then if I end up to like happen to like book my shit up, then I'll just move whoever hit me to the next day and we'll go from there.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of it's like day of and just like pure. We try, as counterproductive as this might be in a business sense, we try to keep the music making as like homie shit and less businessy as possible, because we all sometimes have to do sessions that are like pure business. And when we have the blessing of just creating in the room with like people that we know and love, just have fun, bro. That's where the best shit comes from. So we try to keep it in that vein as much as possible, and that's part of why it's so like willy-nilly and shit like that. But with somebody like Golden, that's way more regimented. I'll have like a couple weeks in advance, like when I need to be pulling up, which is really nice. I do appreciate that kind of shit too. He's on a different schedule than a lot of artists, just with his like, you feel me, his kind of mob that he's in. He has to be more regimented just for himself. It's not for us. He's mobbing.
No, that's dope, dude. I guess, is there anything out there that like maybe unreleased or just like unannounced, or that you know about, like not that you want to mention, but that you're really excited for this year? And 2-part question to that, just what are you most excited for in music right now, in terms of just like your own work or just other people out there and just the industry in general? Releases, or
It's an excellent question. I think I am most excited for the music that I've been working on that's not mine, but I have like a couple people that I've been working with religiously for 2-3 years. Jay Anthony, my brother for life, and YMTK, my other brother for life. We've been making music for the past like 3 years, 2.5-3 years. And I damn near need to get like new hard drives for both of them with the amount of shit that I have just unreleased in the vault. And some of it I produced, some of it I just recorded, but I was in the room for all of it and love all of those records, so I cannot wait for them to come out, because those are people that I've been listening to, picking up game from for way longer than I've known them. Just being Bay Area legends of the generation right before me, and like the G-Eazy generation we were talking about. They're really like from that, and we're around that, and a huge part of the music that we all know and love from that era. So me being able to be a part of their next chapters is like fucking a blessing for me.
That's epic.
So I just can't wait for those songs to be out so I can run them back all the time instead of it just being off my hard drive. But yeah, that's definitely what I'm most excited for. And then I'm just dropping hella music, so I'm excited for that. But that's
and then the state of the industry, like I feel like it's so, like I said, we kind of mentioned earlier, I feel like there's a lot of dark things that are kind of coming to light, which is great. But and the industry's so different now with like socials and stuff. But being someone who's kind of about to make shit shake and you know, have, I'm sure, hella people blowing you up for different, you know, ad spots and placements and whatnot, how are you feeling kind of going into it?
I am a firm believer that now, if ever, there is a lane for everybody, and that it's more about being the truest to yourself, and that's kind of what will ultimately resonate with people. And you know, not everybody's gonna resonate. I don't know if I'm going to, but when you put your truest self out there, I think it gives you your best shot. And right now, with the type of social media platforms that we have and the way that everybody is so tuned in right now, it's really just about crossing that threshold and getting in front of people, because everybody's looking down.
Absolutely.
So it's just about making sure they're looking at you. But everybody's looking down.
Right.
So,
dude,
it's a blessing, but it's hard to crack through for sure.
For sure, yeah, and it can be scary too, because I feel like nowadays it's just kind of like whoever's loudest is getting the publicity, and it's not necessarily the right, and not even in terms of music, just like in terms of just content, just in general. You know, like the Kendrick and Drake thing.
For sure.
Did you peep any of those?
Yes.
And how do you feel about it? I mean, you don't have to say.
They're not like us.
Yeah.
But what?
So indirectly, but I mean, yeah, I feel like that whole beef was crazy in terms of just the dropping schedule. Like they were just dropping like.
Nah, I was a fan of that.
Yeah.
Like it's the schedule that you talking about, because as a independent artist, obviously take what I'm about to say with a grain of salt, but it's just like drop your shit.
Yeah.
They're putting their shit on fucking Instagram Reels because there's too many samples to clear.
Right.
So it's like, fuck it, just do that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like just get your shit out there.
Yeah.
Because also like one of the biggest takeaways I think from that moment in time is the $1 Million Baby song, because for Tommy Richmond, right, you're solidified in a moment in time where bruh had the #1 and only didn't because those two songs, the like Euphoria dropped or whatever, and then They Not Like Us and the Drake joint, I forget what it was
Family
called.
Matters or some shit. Yeah.
Came out, and that became like the top 5 or whatever.
Yeah,
but with Tommy, he stayed within there the entire time.
Bro.
So that was really cool seeing like he's basically independent. He's partnered with Brent. So it was like, oh yeah. Like do your Thug Thizzle, you know what I mean? Like you can really make anything shake. And like I said, everybody's looking down. It's about cracking through. So he cracked through at a time where like you weren't supposed to crack through. Everybody's only looking at this type of thing.
Yeah, bro, and he withstood. Yeah, and sorry to cut you off, but he withstood a Taylor Swift album. She dropped, and his shit was still in there.
Yes, bro.
I mean, maybe she knocked him down a few, but then he went right back, bro. Like right after that.
That was one of the tightest things I've ever seen.
So epic, bro. Yeah, that was fucking epic. Well, bro, this has been epic. Thank you so much for doing this.
Brother,
and
thank you.
It was crazy, kind of how things came together, but sometimes that's the best way things happen.
For sure.
Is there anything else you want to talk about? Anything else you want the people to know about? I know you mentioned your projects, but anything else?
Nah, just, don't be afraid to change your ways. And, I got Indie Bay Pop coming very soon, the full album, and a little project after that called Darling. So,
Darling.
2 projects on the way.
There you have it. 2 projects on the way. We got Wyatt Woodley open for 24K the last couple days, and he's about to drop a bomb in the music industry. So, thanks for coming on again, and that's the episode.
Thank you so much, brother.
Yeah, bro. You're the man, bro.
You are.
We crushed it.
Nah, you're sick, bro.
In terms of like placements and stuff, do you have any placements you can talk about, like for like your production credits or just writing credits or anything like that you want to mention that you've got?
Yeah. Actually, so it's kind of hard to explain. Me, my brother Obvi, and my other brother Billion, all kind of made a sample. They got sampled by this producer named Charlie Heat.
Okay.
Thank you, Charlie. He's like a legend in the industry, and
Okay.
basically he heard it, flipped it, and was executive producing the Bryson Tiller album that just came out. And so he, and along with like a couple of the guys on his production team, got it to Bryson. Bryson loved it, cut it, and then we had to wait for like a year and a half before knowing if it was on the project or not.
Yeah.
And then Last Call Audible got the contracts and all of that stuff, and it came out, so it's on there. And that was like not only my first placement that came out, but it was like a lot of firsts. Like that shit went to the Billboard. It did its whole like real thing. That album's going crazy, and it's a crazy piece of modern art to be a part of. So that was an amazing experience. But I also have a new joint that me and my manager did, Calais, on the new Zakari album that should be coming up pretty soon. And that one's got a special feature on it as well. So super excited about that. But yeah, I got a couple other in the pipeline, but those ones I cannot talk about yet.
Okay.
Yeah, those are.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, going crazy.
That's got to be a crazy feeling. Just like the shit comes out, like for the Bryson shit, it comes out and you're like, oh, fuck.
For sure. Because especially, after, this industry's crazy. So it's like not knowing for hella long.
Yeah.
And we had made it for like 6 months prior before that. So it was like 2 years really of just like fingers crossed, praying that it made it on there. And then, just like the Zakari song was even cooler in a way because I actually got to be in the room for that one.
Oh,
we
that's
made that all
sick.
together.
Yeah.
So that was like really special in its own right, But yeah, I'm super excited for the future.
Hell yeah.